Hello, I'm Nigel Lithgow, and this is The Enemy Within, where one of our 5 contestants has been given all of the answers to today's questions. If they're not unmasked at the end of the show, they will leave with everyone else's winnings, which is why they're called The Enemy. Let's meet our contestants. Darren Cohen from London, Carolyn Burrows from Accrington, Danny Ward from Stockton-on-Tees, Claire Griffiths from Hertfordshire, and David Weller from Tamworth. Now, we've never met each other before, but I feel safe to say that one of you is the enemy. Like you, I don't know who it is, but I do know that the enemy has the advantage. They have the questions, and they will have your money if you don't unmask them. Let's meet our first enemy suspect. Darren Cohen, you're an investment advisor. Let's see what you said when we asked you, when is cheating acceptable?
If you can cheat to get yourself advanced without hurting anybody else, then that's when I believe cheating is acceptable. But I'd never cheat on a loved one or a partner. But thinking about it, if you can cheat in an exam and get away with it, I'd certainly do that, because that obviously doesn't hurt anybody else.
I'm sure you won't consider taking money off 4 complete strangers as hurting them. So, Darren Cohen, are you the enemy?
I'm definitely not the enemy, Nigel.
Then I'll ask you 3 questions. Each one of them is worth £25. If you give me an incorrect answer or pass on it, I'll throw it open for a bonus. And remember, although you'll be answering your own questions today, it's how other people answer theirs that will give you clues as to whether or not they're the enemy. Let's start round 1. Who provided the vocal for Bob the Builder's Christmas #1, Can We Fix It?
I don't know.
Throwing it open. Carolyn.
Neil Morrissey.
Correct. To steam enthusiasts, what is the Flying Scotsman?
It's a train.
It is a train, a locomotive? Absolutely. In June 2001, who succeeded Robin Cook as Foreign Secretary?
Jack Straw.
Correct. Is that a guess?
It was a guess.
It was a very good guess, Darren. Let's move to our second enemy suspect. Carolyn Burrows is a business administrator. Let's see what she said when we asked her, would you cheat to win?
Yes, and I have done. When I was little, I was put in for the 10-metre swimming award, and I used my arms to make it look as I was swimming across, but actually my feet were dragging along the bottom, but my instructor didn't notice, and I still got my certificate at the end.
Well, you can't drag your feet today, Carolyn. You must find that enemy, or you will go home with absolutely nothing. Unless, of course, you are the enemy. Carolyn Burrows, are you the enemy?
No chance, Nigel.
Your 3 questions. In imperial measure, 1,760 yards make what?
1 mile.
Correct. Directed by Ang Lee, which martial arts epic won 4 Academy Awards in 2000?
Enter the Dragon.
Throwing it open. Darren.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Absolutely right. Barnum and Bailey are famous for what?
Musicals.
Throwing it open. Darren.
Circuses.
Absolutely. Let's move to our third enemy suspect. Danny Ward's a media student. Let's see what he said when we asked him, do you believe in cheating?
Yes, I do. I think that it's something that's innate in humans. It's something that we can do. Not all people do, but we can utilise it to our advantage. And I think that's what separates us from animals. And I think if it's there, I would use it and I would cheat to win.
Danny, you've been totally open with your fellow contestants today. You would cheat to win. Danny Ward, are you the enemy?
No, Nigel, it's not me.
Your 3 questions. Who designed Liz Hurley's famous safety pin gown?
Christian Dior.
Throwing it open. Claire.
Versace.
Versace is correct. In which establishment would you normally expect to find a Gideon's Bible?
A church.
Throwing it open. Darren.
Hotel.
A hotel, correct. AG is the chemical symbol for what, Danny?
Gold.
Throwing it open. Carolyn.
Silver.
It is silver. Nothing right, Danny. Let's move to our 4th enemy suspect. Claire Griffiths is a primary school teacher. Let's see what she said when we asked her, do you think cheats are born or made?
I think cheating comes naturally to people. It certainly comes naturally to me. I've cheated from when I was very young. I used to play drafts with my granddad and used to move the pieces out of the way when he wasn't looking, and I won every time. So I think you are born a cheat, and therefore I'll carry on cheating.
Another open cheat before us. Claire Griffiths. Are you the enemy?
No, Nigel, do I look like an enemy?
Your 3 questions. In 1989, the Bangles hit Eternal Flame referred to the Memphis grave of which rock star? Throwing it open. Danny.
Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley. What name is given to the fruit of the blackthorn tree?
Olive?
Throwing it open. Danny.
Is it blackberry?
No, it's a slowberry. Which Swiss hero is said to have used a crossbow to shoot an apple from his son's head?
I don't know.
Carolyn.
William Tell.
William Tell is right. You don't know the William Tell story?
Unfortunately not.
Let's move to our final enemy suspect, David Weller, a marriage registrar. Let's see what you said when we asked you, do you believe in cheating?
I hate cheating. I once played a game of tennis against a fellow who was cheating by forgetting the score and calling balls out. I decided to confront him, not verbally, but by letting my tennis do the talking, and I won in 2 sets.
Well, you'll need to spot the enemy today in order to confront them, and you will need to do that if you're going to go home with any money today. Unless, of course, you are the enemy. David Weller. Are you the enemy?
No, not in any way, shape or form.
Your 3 questions, David. Who topped the December 2001 UK singles chart with Gotta Get Through This?
No idea.
Throwing it open. Claire.
Daniel Bedingfield.
Correct. From which European country did Mozambique achieve independence in 1975?
France?
Throwing it open. Well, the enemy has decided not to answer that question. The answer was Portugal. And David, you've travelled a great deal, haven't you?
Yeah.
To something like 50 countries.
Yep.
And you didn't know that answer.
Mostly in Asia and Oceania.
Your 3rd question. Who went from Smack the Pony to star in Rescue Me in 2002?
Don't know.
Throwing it open. Claire.
Mel Gibson?
No, it was Sally Phillips. It's the end of that round, and I'm not going to reveal your running totals at this point. Only our viewers at home can see those. All I will tell you is that Darren is currently in the lead. Now, is that because he's clever and knows the answers, or is that because he's cheating and has been given the answers? You must decide. Pick up any clues in round 1. You really are going to have to get your heads down and pick them up in round 2, which is a buzzer round, and each question is going to be worth £50. Anyone can buzz in and pick up that question. If you answer incorrectly, I'll throw it open once for a bonus. A word of warning, don't get lost in the game. You're going to need to stay focused in order to flush out the faker in round 2. Which Welsh poet wrote the radio play Under Milk Wood? Darren.
Was that Wordsworth?
No, it wasn't. I'm going to throw it open. It was Dylan Thomas. Which US state is nicknamed the Sunshine State? David.
California?
Throwing it open. Darren.
That's Florida.
It is Florida. Your favourite subject, David, is geography.
Never got to the States yet.
Homburg and Trilby are types of what? Claire.
Cat.
Correct. Who painted Salford scenes populated by Danny.
Lowry.
Correct. What was the 1920s mobster Al Capone's nickname? Darren.
Scarface.
Correct. In Cockney rhyming slang, what is Rosie Lee? Darren.
That's T.
It is T. In legend, where was King Arthur's court? Darren.
Camelot.
Camelot. What does the A stand for in the organisation PDSA? Carolyn.
Animals.
Correct. The People's Dispensary for Sick Animals. Which herb is a main ingredient of Genoese green pesto? Claire.
Oregano?
No. Try and get open, David.
Dill?
No, it's basil. Hamilton is the capital of which British dependency in the Atlantic? David.
Bermuda.
Correct. It's the end of that round. I'm still not going to reveal to you your individual totals. All I can tell you is that Darren is still in the lead. But does that mean he is today's enemy? We're now at the halfway stage. You must be building up some thoughts as to who you believe the enemy is. So I'll now ask you, Darren, who do you think the enemy is today?
I'm almost convinced the enemy's Carolyn.
Really? Why?
It's just the way that she seems to be answering the questions.
How is that?
Well, there's some sort of hesitancy about hitting the button, despite the fact that I'm sure she's already registering that the question is well known to her.
Really? Very confident, Darren.
I think so.
Carolyn, who do you think the enemy is?
David,
Why?
because he has travelled extensively but he doesn't know anything about geography.
Seems very strange, doesn't it? Danny, who do you think the enemy is and why?
I think it's David. For a well-travelled man, he doesn't know much.
Claire, who do you think the enemy is?
I think it's Danny,
Why?
from the way he's been justifying why he knows the answers to the questions.
Well, he doesn't know the answer to the questions, the truth.
Well,
David,
I think it's Carolyn. I think it was that circus question. She knew the answer as immediately she got it wrong. That's just made me feel a bit suspicious. It's Carolyn.
we'll move on to our third round, and I'm now going to ask each of you 3 questions worth £75 each. But the questions are on a specific subject, and your problem is you haven't chosen that specific subject, so you could quite possibly get all of the answers wrong. That is, of course, unless you've seen the answers. Time is running out as we play round 3. Darren, your specific subject is US presidents. Which American president was born in Tampico, Illinois on February the 6th, 1911?
That makes me about 90.
Throwing it open. Danny?
Eisenhower?
No, it was Ronald Reagan. Which president was the first Democrat since Franklin D. Roosevelt to win a second term?
That's Bill Clinton.
That is Bill Clinton. Which president did John Wilkes Booth assassinate?
Abraham Lincoln.
Correct. Carolyn, your specific subject, Carolyn, is the Rolling Stones. Do you like the Stones?
Not particularly.
Charlie Watts plays what in the band?
Drums.
Correct. Their Sticky Fingers album cover was designed by which American pop artist?
Andy Warhol.
Absolutely. Who left the band in 1992?
Bill Wyman.
You did indeed. For somebody that doesn't follow the Stones, you did very well there.
I read the tabloid press.
Really? Danny, your specialist subject is French films. In the 1956 French hit And God Created Woman, which cinema goddess played the woman?
Brigitte Bardot.
Was that a guess?
Yes, it was.
It was a very good one, Danny.
Thank you.
It was Brigitte Bardot. What was the occupation of celebrated French director Jean Renoir's father?
Was he a painter?
Are you asking me or telling me?
I'm telling you.
You are right. La Wally was used as the theme to which French thriller in 1981?
I don't know.
Throwing it open. I think if anyone knew the answer to this, they would be showing themselves up as the enemy. The answer was Diva. Claire, your specialist subject is television families. In which show did the title character have kids called DJ and Darlene?
Roseanne.
Correct. In Dallas, what was the name of J.R. Ewing's wife? Throwing it open. Darren.
Sue Ellen.
Sue Ellen is correct. Which drama series featured the Ingalls family of Plum Creek, Minnesota? Throwing it open. Darren.
That's Little House on the Prairie.
Correct. Let's move on, David, to you, and your specialist subject is MPs. Of which left-wing MP did Dennis Healey say he came close to destroying the Labour Party as a force in 20th century British politics?
Dennis Skinner?
Throwing it open. Danny.
Is it Enoch Powell?
No, it was Tony Benn. To the nearest 5, how many Liberal Democrat MPs were in the newly elected Parliament of 2001?
30?
Throwing it open. Carolyn.
15.
No, it was actually 52, I would have accepted anything from 47 to 57. Who was the first British Prime Minister, David?
Sir Robert Walpole.
Is correct. Let's take a moment's pause here in order to look at some of your past history. Darren, I've said you're an investment advisor. You also enjoy playing poker, don't you?
That's right, yep.
So you've got what's described as a good poker face.
Yeah, I think so.
I know that you actually enjoy paintballing as well, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
And you were in the Territorial Army.
Correct.
And you were given a flak jacket in the Territorial Army, which you wear underneath your paintballing outfit so that the actual paintballs bounce off without exploding.
That's a very useful piece of information, you know, Nigel.
Yes. And you've won many games at that by cheating, Darren, haven't you?
Yes, that's right.
So, is he cheating you today? Is Darren the enemy? Carolyn, you tell men that you're a nightclub dancer in order to attract them, don't you?
I used to, yes.
It was a lie, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
And on going to a friend's wedding, you bought yourself an outfit, wore it for the wedding, and took it back to the shop and got your money back.
Yes.
Danny, you went to a rival's school with a bunch of mates and decided to moon at the school, didn't you? Unfortunately, the bell rang and 800 people came out of that school and saw your bottom, Danny, didn't they?
Yeah.
You've also said, Danny, and I quote you, "All my lies are successful and achieve their aims."
Yeah.
Claire, you've got a whole catalogue of lies. You're a primary school teacher. You've told your children that you went out with Eminem.
I did.
On New Year's Eve, you went to a club and told the bouncer there that you were from All Saints.
A group like that, yes.
Is Claire the enemy? David Weller, I can find no stories on you whatsoever.
I've paid my friends well.
Either that, or you have always covered your tracks and never been caught out. Will you be caught out today, David?
There's nothing to catch.
We'll now move on to our final round, and this is a chance for you all to dramatically increase your cash totals. The first question will be worth £100. Anybody can buzz in and accept it. If you get it right, then the prize money for the next question goes up by £25. However, the questions will not be offered across. In a moment, I'm going to be asking you the most vitally important question of today. Who is the enemy? You must give me your answer at the end of this, our final round. For £100, in the Bible, who fed the 5,000? David.
Jesus.
He did indeed. For £125, which racecourse is the venue for the Grand National? Carolyn.
Aintree.
Correct. For £150, who wrote Brighton Rock? Graham Greene. Still for £150, sockeye is a variety of which tin fish? Darren.
Salmon.
Correct. For £175, in politics, which party leader is known as IDS? Darren.
Ian Duncan Smith.
Correct. For £200, clavicle is the medical term for which bone in the human body? Darren.
That's the chest bone.
No, it's the collarbone. Still for £200, in EastEnders, which iron-wielding character shares her nickname with a 1950s tennis star? Darren.
Is that Little Mo?
It is Little Mo. For £225, in Lonely Hearts ads, what do the initials WLTM stand for? Carolyn.
Would like to meet.
Indeed. £250, brimful of what? Carolyn.
Asher.
A brimful of Asher took Corner Shop to the top of the UK singles charts was the question. You are right. For £275, by what name were the German submarines of World War II?
They were U-boats.
They were U-boats. Well, that's the end of our final round, and our phone lines are now closed. Here are your final cash totals. Claire, you have £175. Danny, you have £225. David, you have £225. Carolyn, you have £975. And Darren, you have £1,425, which means that Darren is today's winner. However, this might be the closest any of you get to that money, because it can still be stolen from you. The enemy is still within. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to nominate who you think is the cheat, and you must agree by a majority. If you give me a split decision, then the audience's vote will be decisive whether you agree with it or not. It's now time for the audience vote. So, audience, who is the enemy? At this stage, our audience's vote will only be seen by our viewers at home. You've now had time to think, but what has the enemy's strategy been? Darren has never been frightened to answer the questions. Claire sat behind. Maybe she's not answered as many questions as you would have thought she should have done. David didn't know as much about geography as we thought he should have done. Danny didn't answer that many questions. Carolyn burst forth in that final round. You now have to make your decisions, and it could cost you everything if you get it wrong. Darren, who is the enemy?
Definitely David.
Carolyn, who is the enemy?
Danny.
Danny, who is the enemy?
It's Darren.
Claire, who is the enemy?
Carolyn.
David, who is the enemy?
It's Darren.
We have a majority decision. Both Danny and David point the finger at you, Darren. But are they right? Will the real enemy now stand up? David, congratulations. You've outwitted, well, at least 3 of your fellow contestants. Please take a seat, because I think Darren spotted you. What I'm amazed at, David, is I said to you right at the beginning of the show, you've never been caught out in anything, and you weren't caught out today. Consequently, you're going to go home with everybody else's money, which is £3,025. Well done. Well, that's all for now. Today's cheat, David got away scot-free. Even our audience thought it was Claire, but hopefully 5 of you out there spotted him, and you can pick up that £200. But it does prove that good cheats can prosper on the enemy within. See you next time, and remember, keep your friends close, keep your enemies even closer.
Catch more of The Enemy Within every weekday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, only on BBC America. Up next, Cash in the Attic.